So I just talk about books that I
That
bought,
yes, you have a book haul.
and that's the whole. I haven't read them yet.
That's the whole video.
That's it, and it's
That's
called
it.
a what?
Well, this is a book haul, but it's also your to be read or TBR.
My TBR.
Yes.
So to what? Why is there two of something?
You
Why
want
are there bees?
just get on with the video, babe.
Hi. Welcome to the Literature Science Alliance, and here's a bonus video, I guess. I don't know. My name's Ryan. I'm not in charge of this channel. I just live with the person who is. And so a few weeks ago, right as the new year started, Happy New Year, by the way, I guess. I don't know. It's certainly a year. Of all the years we've had, this one is one. So we began the year by I think the first weekend actually we just took a walk down to a local bookstore and just started like buying stuff that was on our list of things to get. So I kind of went on a bit of a shopping spree and picked up some books that I'll probably read within the next like 2 or 20 years of my life. And so Angela was like, "You had to tell the internet about it because that's what the internet's for, I guess." So let's not waste any more time. So the first one, it's called The Factory by Hiroko Oyamada. This was recently translated into English. I don't. So it was. When was this written? Actually, when was this first written? Ryan, do this research beforehand. Okay, so it was written in 2013. It was translated in 2019. So it's not like the Memory Police that I did a whole video on that was like written in the 90s. But this appealed to me because it's about basically how work can consume your life, but it's in a very surreal way. Like these multiple workers who work in this just unknown factory. Like they know what their job is, but they ultimately don't know what the factory makes, and then it becomes very surreal. So I'm always interested in reading books that kind of break down work life in that regard, and so that's kind of why this one caught my eye. So, and it's also like it's like 3 pages, so I'll probably finish it pretty quickly. So that's the first one. I'm pretty much reading these from shortest to longest, just to make myself feel good. So moving on, we have Hurricane Season by Glare. Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor. And so this is about a Mexican village where there was a witch and somebody killed the witch and people don't know why. And I'm kind of like hooked on this idea of like genre combination books ever since I read The Gone World. So this is kind of like a crime thriller, but also there's some supernatural elements because like the whole hook is like, oh yeah, there's this witch, kill the witch. But then it's like, wait a second, who killed the witch? Like that's illegal. That was bad. So that's what interests me about that one. So next up is Idaho by Emily Ruskovich. Ruskovich. You know, when I did Stranger in a Strange Land and I was like, I had to look up how to say Heinlein's name, it is more difficult with these authors that don't have nearly as much clout. So I apologize if I say any of these names wrong. So Idaho. It is a mystery novel about this woman who's this somewhat elderly couple. This woman is trying to figure out her husband's past life. Essentially, her husband has like memory issues, and his first wife is in jail. So it's just like a bunch of it's just like trying to unravel this mystery about this person's life. And I heard really good things about this one. And, you know, if it's anything as good as The Potatoes of the same name, then it's going to be great. Which is really all we can aspire to be in life. Be as good as potatoes. The 2021 message. All right. Organization. Moving on to Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Ooh, that looks weird on the screen. That'd give you a headache. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. That's nicer. This is kind of like when I looked up a brief plot synopsis, it gave me very Total Recall vibes, which I love that movie. So this college professor is kidnapped one day, and then he wakes up and he's seemingly in an alternate reality. Like his wife doesn't exist, his son doesn't exist. So it's this very like unknown identity, like what is real, what's fake. So I like that kind of hook. So that gave me some very Philip K. Dick sort of intrigue. So this sounds like it's something that's right up my alley. I caught that in midair. You didn't see it, but just believe me. Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. So this is a book about parenting. It's a fictional story about parenting, except children blow up when they have temper tantrums. Like they go boom. So it's basically if Mary Poppins had explosions. Like what else do you need? A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. Tremblay. So this takes place in New England, and I am just a sucker for anything revolving New England, apparently. Yeah. And it's basically if The Exorcist took place on a reality show. Like this girl gets possessed by a demon, and the family decides we can make money off of that. And they have a reality TV show that is basically The Exorcism. But then that's the backstory, and it's the main plot takes place like a few decades later, where the one of the sisters who wasn't possessed basically goes through that trauma and finds out some family secrets and stuff like that. So again, another like weird mixture of genres that that's my jam right now, man. The Immortalist by Chloe Benjamin. So this book has one question at the crux of it, and that is, if you knew the day you were going to die, how would you live? And I believe it's 4 children. Yeah, 4 children. 4 siblings basically have that. They know what day they're going to die, and this chronicles how their lives turn out as a result of knowing what day they are going to die. So, I mean, that's a pretty good hook for a book. All right. Gotta keep up with my notes. They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us by, I apologize again if I don't say this correctly, Hanif Abdurraqib. So last year I read Exhalation by Ted Chiang. It was a short story collection, and it was really the first time I loved a short story collection and read it from start to finish. Like I've tried to and that the thing is like, for me, my personal experience, and it's not a very large pool of short story collections, but I don't always hit gold where every single short story is like at a same level of quality that wants me to keep reading through it. So I kind of wanted to expand my horizons. So this is a collection of essays about basically dealing with multiple life experiences and associating that with a certain type of music. So I'm very interested to see what this collection unfolds, because this author is actually more of a poet. So I also, I do want to give a shout out to 2-Bit Radio. They're a independent bookstore in Columbus, Ohio. That's where I got this from. So if you are looking for an indie shop, they are quite good. The Rabbitback Literature Society. And I am 100% gonna mess up this name. Okay, I'm just gonna hold it up. All right, that's the name. Here's the attempt. Sorry. Pasi Ilmari Jakel Lanen? I don't know what an umlaut. The umlaut's over 3 A's, but not the other 2 A's. I don't know how to pronounce an umlaut over an A. I am uncultured. So this is like kind of a Twin Peaks inspired book where there's this small town of very elite writers, like they're like famous writers, and they're in a club called the Rabbitback Literature Society, but this book chronicles them inducting a new member, and that member then realizes that this club is not what it seems. There's a bunch of surreal things happening, like the person picks up a book of like a classic novel. It's like a real life classic novel like Pride or Prejudice, but I don't know if it's that one specifically. But it's like they pick it up and they realize the ending is different than the one they know, and it's like some extreme changes happen, and then like these changes that are happening to books are leaking into the real world. So there's some mysticism going on. It's a very it's I don't know. It's one of the it's a very creepy small town. Things are happening, but about books. I'm not a writer. The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. This person wrote Cloud Atlas, so it's going to be confusing. I got to be honest with you, while I was writing up notes for this episode, it was during a day where I worked 13 hours, and I was like at the end of my rope when I wrote about this one. So I've heard a lot of praise about this, and the plot's really confusing, and it involves time travel and Ireland, so it's probably good. Last one. The Best Bad Things by Katrina Carrasco. So this is another crime thriller, another crime fiction thriller. My notes calls it an old-timey crimey blimey. So it's about a female detective who cross-dresses as a man to infiltrate some opium smuggling happening in a port town in I believe it's Washington. The author's from Seattle. It doesn't specify. It's just West Coast. So yeah, them's the books that I bought.
Which one are you most excited for?
The next one.
Coward.
No. So the one okay. I mean, I bought all these books because I want to read them, but Nothing to See Here is something I'm excited to read for just because word of mouth has been very good. Like, this is the book that I've personally heard the most about, just anecdotally. They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us, I'm excited to read about just because I've never read an essay collection before. And this one's going to be like more personal than the actual, I mean, the rest are stories. This is life experiences. So this is going to be kind of a change of pace for me. In Idaho, potatoes. Like, comment, and subscribe.